shotgun to the guy who was repairing. He looked at me while I was satcheling him. Hope you like pineapples, motherfucker. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Vet Chat. We are live with Stefan and Brett, and of course, Goodfella ZK. I fucked my camera up. Oh my god. Good, I'm sorry. He's like, man,
fucking share this episode.
what the shit production value is this? He's like, he's doing it himself. This is Goodfella moving me off his face. Goodfella always has a gangster ass camera angle, and like an actual value to his camera, but it's so low. It's like 30% of the frame, bro. I need more good.
Need more good?
Yeah, I need more good. We got the U.S. Navy in chat. Representing the Canadian Special Forces is Stefan Beerwood, Instinctive Measures himself. What's up, brother? And we have a special guest, Brent. How are you, my friend?
Good. Yourself?
Good. Civilian supporter. How? Please tell us about yourself.
Oh, can I introduce?
Of course.
Then we can get him to talk about himself, because I know he loves to do that. Well, he does all day long anyways. So this is Brent
we don't
O'Connor.
rip each
Brent
other at
O'Connor
all. Not at all.
No, never. Never. He lost his hair because he had me as a friend. So Brent is a service officer at a Legion in Dunnville, Ontario.
Okay.
He's been an officer of the branch for quite a number of years, and we just reconnected a few years back, him and I, because we were actually best buds when we were like 9 or 10 years of age.
Mm.
Then went kind of forced to go our separate ways, and he was hanging out with my sister, and wasn't treating her right. He was not treating her right. I tell you, I had to come down there and no.
So what you're saying is you're an uncle now.
He didn't even know he was hanging out with my sister. I'll let him tell the story. Go ahead, Brent. Introduce yourself.
All right. I've been with the Legions over 20 years now. As Steph said, I'm the VSO officer here in Dunnville. I'm also Deputy Zone Commander and VSO for the zone. So there's 11 other branches that we take care of.
And you should explain what that is, please.
What's that?
The titles that you just used, the acronyms.
Okay, VSO is Veteran Service Officer. Deputy Zone Commander. The Legions are split up into different zones. We're Zone B1, whereas Niagara Region would be B5. So there's 11 branches in my zone. So I'm the VSO for the zone as well. So if any of those branches need help with anything with veterans, I get the call. As I said, it's been quite interesting working with it and dealing with all the veterans that I have dealt with, that I've helped out in the past. It's a very good feeling if you can support and give them help that they need.
What got you into it?
I couldn't make it into service. Both knees blown, cartilage removed, so I just figured I'd take other avenues. First branch I was at was in Smithville, Ontario. There were a few vets in there. They got me really going on things there. So after 15 years there and 3 terms as president, I moved on. The wife and I moved out this way now into Dunnville. So then I've joined up with this Legion now.
And what do you do for a civilian job?
Right now, not a lot. I'm in retraining right now. I had my own business, contractor.
Sweet.
Drywall,
Okay.
trim work. but recently had surgery on my shoulder, rotator, complete tear and 2 half tears. So my career in that after about 30 years is gone.
Yeah, I hear that.
So, but I am re-educating now, if you want to say.
And what drew you to support veterans in the first place?
Uh, Listening to their stories and um, everything that they've been through, the whole bit. It's definitely always nice to have an extra hand out there to be able to support, whether it just be talking or actually going through back and getting their papers done and helping them out with all of that. Um, it's just I've always had the heart for it, so I've kept up with it.
Hmm. Yeah, I've had some interactions with Legion, a few times actually. Always helping with the Poppy fundraise and things like that.
Yes.
What would you say is the biggest contribution to the veteran sort of support initiative, air quote, that the Legion gives?
That's our Poppy Fund. The Poppy Fund, it's not branches money. It is veterans money. It's the
Mm.
community that's the donations we get from canvassing the poppies. So that is 100% veterans money. There's several different organizations that we put the money towards. Um, I'll just read off a couple. Well, obviously, Support Dogs,
Mm.
which goes through Wounded Warriors. It's about $40,000 to $50,000 for one dog. So the need for them to get
Yeah.
service dogs is in great need. Quite expensive. We have Veterans on the Fly, which is another very good organization. I've sent a few guys to that. So it's kind of like a retreat with your family. They teach you how to fly fish and camp and canoe and all kinds of stuff there. The Ruck to Remember. I don't know. I'm sure you guys must have heard of that.
Of course.
Okay. That's another big one we do. Leave the Streets Behind for homeless veterans, which is another big program that we donate a lot of money towards.
That's a
Right now, I
fun
believe,
fact. I
um,
almost became a homeless veteran this winter,
well,
and I kept it
to me, it's
silent
two
the
words.
entire time. And that is
It's
something
two
that
words
shouldn't
that
happen.
shouldn't be. Yes, but it's
Yeah.
two words that shouldn't be in the English language, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I believe that, and I'll tell
Yeah.
you,
So,
stick to itiveness and my community, my brothers saw me through to the other side, you know, and like that initiative right there is so inspiring for me because there are too many right now. There are way too many. One is too many. One is too
yes.
many. We should be able to, with the resources we have in this country and the space we have in this country, it would take nothing to build a mansion and house every homeless veteran we have. It would take nothing for our government to do that. Yet we're fixating
Well,
on a world war that has nothing to do with us at this point.
yeah, but the key word that you said there, that the problem is the government.
Yep.
Yeah, I was about to say that it would still not work for the simple reason that I think some of the veterans are so badly damaged they can't care for themselves. So the one guy that I dealt with, we got him off the street, and within 1 month, I mean, I don't know of any other veteran that this has ever happened before, because this was right at the beginning of COVID. In 1 month, we had him with a full pension
Hmm.
and into his own apartment. But he was so badly damaged that 4 months later, he had sabotaged everything, was back on the street.
Well, but this is what I was sort of leaning into, in that all of us have signed documents to say that we no longer have rights as a civilian. We have rights as a citizen. And our brothers sometimes need to take us, throw us in the back of a truck, and leave us in a cabin to sober up for a week because shut up. Because they know what's best. And
We know what happened to you.
Stop. I have a lid on it now thanks to my friends. Okay. And that has to happen. And so a veteran is a broad term these days. A combat veteran is conditioned to a certain environment, specific environment, combat. Because if they didn't condition, they would not survive. And we have to be able to support that in the post. The purpose of combat is to achieve a goal. And once that goal is achieved, I feel that government likes to sally forth and forget about the reason that they deployed the asset in the first place. It's almost as if there's 2,000 years of history behind that mythology. And
Well, I think it's a lot of corruption is what is the bigger problem.
exactly,
Because
it's people trying to get paid.
It shows in the purchasing, like when they go after equipment.
Mhm.
You know, the fact that they'll go 70 years before they can replace an airplane.
Mhm.
I mean, that's corruption. Because I mean, the contracts are negotiated, then canceled, then negotiated, then canceled.
Well, and the plane's
There's
not
only
the
changed
asset
governments
being
between-
sold, it's the maintenance being sold. That's
Yeah.
the true asset. And 7 years?
It's
100
years
entire
ago?
buying
Sure.
process.
7 months
Because-
today is still too long. Well, and
It's
I was gonna say,
buying-
Zach,
yeah.
like U.S. Navy, 7-month-old tech. How long is that gonna stay on the shelf? 3 months ago.
Years, decades.
Okay, bad example. Clearly.
Depends on the decade it came out. You know.
Well, like
So
a
the
nuclear
U-
submarine.
But you know the biggest problem is the buying itself. Is you're having people buying stuff that's not for them,
Mhm.
using money that's not theirs.
Yes.
Right. So one of those things has to like be better. Yeah.
Well, and
One of those things has to match.
well, and the American buying system is dramatically different than the Canadian, in that the surplus is so vast that you can, versus Canada. Like, what are we? $36 billion behind. Was the
Oh,
last?
Is that all?
Is that all? Right? I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about support for past personnel. I'm talking about current operations. We're behind by like a stupid amount. If Canada was
Yeah.
to enter a world war right now, we would be behind by like $36 billion in assets to actually fight that war. We don't even have.
And that's
We have
not the
40. We
first
have
time.
under 40,000 regular force troops.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not the
you
first
got
time.
more reserves.
Yeah, well,
Well,
we have
actually, we have
that many
135,000 reserve troops if they were to activate, and that's including calling in douchebags like me who have no
Yeah.
knees, no hips, no back, and can't fight.
New York City has a larger police force than our military combined.
Oh, easily, yeah. Oh, totally. They have a
And they have more
population of 20
equipment.
million.
They also have more equipment. New York police could come in and take over Canada on their own.
The
You wouldn't need to send them
NYPD
things.
has more
Oh,
air
the
support
NYPD.
than our Air
They wouldn't
Force.
get past the mountains.
Oh, they would, because Y'all got-
Yes, they would.
y'all got helicopters.
Oh no, they'd send in the what's that Central Park special like
The horses.
Mounted police,
force.
yeah.
Mounted on mounted. It would be a joust.
Mounted, unmounted. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Niagara Bridge joust would go down
Was
in
it-
history.
Was that the
Oh,
Santa
yes.
Claus or no? Was it Elf?
That was Elf. Oh, I
Yeah.
hate you. I love you so much. Like that, that is why we're best friends, man. Like seriously. Oh, of course you know Elf back to the front. Oh damn. But like seriously, yeah. That's just it. And today, like I opened my phone. I'm at a resort. I'm trying to like live my best life, doing the brunch service and whatnot. I open my phone and what do I see? Iran has not yet responded to the last strike that Israel made.
I think they
And
may have taken out their radar.
well, right, because that's so hard to do. Well, here's the fucked up thing. Iran last week announced their Iron Curtain knockoff, and they haven't responded yet. So a non-response means one of two things: they're dead or worse. And worse is not cool because they have nukes. So if the world ends to the lowest common denominator, I'm gonna be fucking mad because I put a lot of effort
very
into
long.
being an ordinary, cautious, and prudent person over the last 30 years. I'm serious. And if I could have just been a douchebag the whole time just to end up in Fallout, that's not cool. I'm
But
just
you
saying
were
that.
being a douchebag the whole time.
Douchebag private with a uniform.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sergeant,
talk- we'll
like,
qualify
come
that,
on.
right.
With an awesome mentor on top.
Yeah.
Wasn't gonna
Right,
go
all
a
right,
whole lot
Brent.
wrong, but you know,
How many of us assholes do you see in the course of a year that you help?
I see you every Sunday, my brother.
No, not me. How many other people?
Daily.
Like
In the service industry, do you really want to talk about that rabbit hole? I'm in food and
no,
beverage.
I'm curious how many people go through an average branch of the Legion. How many veterans seek help, and
Yeah,
how many
Brent.
get it?
Right now, we're looking, my branch, I think we're just over 40 in there. A regular basis, I have one guy that's with me all the time, Navy vet, 7 years. We became real good friends. We hang around all the time, but the other guys come in maybe twice a week, 3 times a week. The other
What are they
vets
coming
would
in
come into the
for?
social.
Yeah,
I get
that's
them.
why I like the
There
Legion
is
a lot.
there's a program that they started called Coffee Time. Um, I haven't. I would have to do the ISO test on it and everything else before I could do that. You're supposed to be a veteran in order to run those. What I got going though is once a month. I get some veterans coming in from Port Colborne. They come into my branch. I get them coming in from Port Dalhousie. They come in, and we just have a couple of beers together, sit down, shoot the shit. And that's about it. Just like a little social time. That's
Yeah.
I'll tell you,
gets
like,
them out.
so yeah, out in Pearl, there's a Fleet Reserve Association, and that was like the best bar to go to, like after work. Like superb, like $5. You're getting a mug of like IPA,
Yeah.
like on tap. It was like we
Are they giving
stumbled
that
upon
away?
it one day, and like it ended up just being our hangout after that. Now,
Yeah. Well, and like what? 40% of Americans are Navy vets? Shit. I'm making a joke, obviously.
maybe Army.
You have a massive vet population.
Yeah,
We don't. So
well, we have a
like,
massive population, so
well, you do, but your service to population ratio versus ours, you're a warrior culture.
that's so we have to have that many like military and veterans to hold back the banks. So it's like just a balance.
To
force.
hold back the bank.
Like you have to borrow more money to get more people to hold back more banks, right? It's just like the next one, right?
America,
What
the
is,
land of
what is the
18-year-olds.
What is the military strength of the U.S. now?
Oh my God, seriously? 1.2
Like,
million in the army?
I don't think that's an actual number.
1.2 million in the army alone. So
There must be a couple million. Isn't there?
Oh yeah. Well, dude, Space Force, Drone
Wow.
Force. America has an automaton force, like that they haven't talked about yet. Yeah, Navy guy. It's like, how do you know about that? Because it's obvious. Look what's happening right now. So, the big whole like world hype is like, what's Israel and Iran gonna do? Like, is this seriously what we're at now? We're just not gonna talk about the actual superpowers anymore and just only talk about the puppets moving forward? So
Well,
we
they did
spent
that in the 60s and 70s with Vietnam.
we spent 100 years talking about the superpowers, and they're like, "Oh, that didn't work. Oh, we're only going to talk about the puppets. The supers can do what they like." Dude, what is about to happen? What's been happening in the Middle East for the last year? Ukraine, Russia, like we're in World War III right now, and nobody has declared it.
Ukraine and
Probably
Russia,
so.
they've been fighting for centuries. They've been
Well,
fighting for years, Ukraine and Russia.
all of the Canadian naval combat ships are in that region right now. None of our combat capable craft are here. They're all
Wait a
in the
minute.
Mediterranean. Or
We have combat capable
we have
ships.
submarines with screen doors, and they're all deployed to the Med. We have
Sorry.
destroyers. Hey, our frigates and destroyers are pretty sweet, but that's all we got.
I've been on them.
And
And they haven't
also,
updated them since I was on them 30 years ago.
well, American and British troops are in Ukraine now. And we reported
Yeah.
that for about 2 days until everybody was like, shh. Because now we're going to go in and do shit. Which means if we actually do the shit that I know we're capable of doing, Putin's going to get pissed. And we're going to be
But
living
I
in
had a-
fallout.
I had a friend of mine that I served with. I won't name him,
Hmm.
but he went over for consulting work. And
I rest my case.
no, so we were talking last year, and basically he was saying, from what he was reading from, the troop movements and the training that they were doing, and the reports coming back, is
Mhm.
that it's an artillery war, and the Ukraine does not have artillery, and so it's a stalemate. And the only reason it's a
Mhm.
stalemate is because Russia is not using everything it can.
Well,
Yeah.
they've
And-
Like
lost.
the war
and-
right now is unwinnable.
Man, every
Yeah.
main battle tank that Russia has deployed has been lost. Don't get me wrong. The Abrams we've given the Ukrainians have also been lost. But with a drone, they can destroy a multi-million-dollar Russian main battle tank. And
Yeah.
that one fact has changed warfare for the rest of our lives. Because
Well,
I
drone
guarantee you the
warfare
private
has
sector
changed
has
it.
been like, really? You can destroy a
you remember when-
T-98 with a hand grenade?
Yeah. So you remember when you did your basic training, you were taught on
Yeah.
camouflage and concealment how to hide behind an object. And so you would lay prone and you would come out where, there's a low spot, or, to get a vantage point, to take up aim. And you knew you were safe because the enemy couldn't see you, but you could see the enemy.
Yeah.
Well, drones have changed that, because now while you're lying prone looking at the enemy's watching you through a screen, and
Yeah.
you're dead.
Well, and that's just so funny that you say that, because in that exercise, I was one of the 2 guys who didn't get discovered by his master corporal, and I had a headshot on my entire section as they walked out, and 12 people tried to spot where I was, and not a single one of them could spot where I was because of my concealment, and I was in plain sight in the long grass,
Yeah.
in the one spot they would never look. Who would hide there? Right? That
That's
drone's
right.
gonna still see me.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Yeah, they're game changers.
well, yeah, it's ordnance deployed to battlefield is the only ratio now.
Well, interestingly enough, you go back to the First World War,
Mhm.
the aerial assaults were the game changer.
Yep.
Right? Because you could go over the enemy lines and you can drop bombs on the trenches.
That's right. In a fixed
Right.
position, and you would have devastating result because you would have multiple people in that one position. And it's the same
Yep.
thing. So we've gone full circle from maneuver warfare being the cutting edge to now we're back to trench, but we don't have a way to maneuver unless you have superior drone technology. To
It's like-
which U.S. Space Force, I was going to say, go ahead, Zach.
It's like ever since war games came out, everybody's known like war's unwinnable now.
Yeah.
Like it's
Until
there's no winning now. It's like it's just over.
you
Like, it's
can
either
only
you're
kill
gonna
everybody
victory.
or not win.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
it's like, how much do I hold back?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and this was my standpoint for the longest time. It's like, why am I learning to kill my fellow man? Should we not be getting another planet by now? Like, we have 2 planets within our reach that are habitable. Why are we actually fighting? Why are we wasting energy fighting? You know what I mean?
The 3-body problem, dude.
Well, it's control. I understand the whole economic corporate control. But like the lowest common denominator will only ever be 64%. You're always going to have a chunk of people who understand what's up and are either playing the system or running the system. And by that logic alone, we're wasting energy by fighting each other. Like what's happening right now in the Middle East and like Asia and shit. Like, dude, Afghan war vets are cross-eyed going, what? Why? Like what? Like
And the Desert Storm guys are like, told you.
yeah. Well, and meanwhile, I was gonna say, meanwhile, American veterans who were in Iraq are like, are you serious? Like, we fucking said this for 25 years. 25 years. We were like, hey guys, by the way, we should probably take out Iran too. But, you know, whatever. Fuck that. You know. A useless Soviet army from the 60s or a nuclear army. Gee, I wonder what was the better target. Because here we are, 20 years later, dealing with that threat. And
the
Iran.
reason why we're having like all these smaller like nations fight is because like they can fight and get angry with each other.
Yeah.
But like they're not going to end the world.
Well, no, see, I think this is where you're wrong, is that's where a second world nation with nuclear arms can. Because the first world has everything, all the control, and no idea how to account for random. And also, at the same time, this is where the Fallout TV show comes in. I understand that fiction is in play, but you have to understand that, like, just like jokes, somebody doesn't tell a joke unless they have a bit of truth behind it. And the way that, like, we're conditioning our population to accept a nuclear fallout right now as an okay, oh, if that happens, as long as I survive, that's okay. And that's the first step. That's the first step to wiping out all of your opposition and taking total control. Because the planet has undergone 4 major changes where we're the 4th species to be dominant on this planet. And we're also the most intelligent, which means we can control our next evolutionary step. We wipe out the opposition.
Or we could blow it.
Well, but this is the thing is thanks to AI now, especially, the scenarios are there. They've run a billion, quadrillion scenarios in an instant, and they say, if you do this, this is what happens. Based off all physics, all known matter, all known law, everything. And we're so far off the tracks from veteran support, but at the same time, if there's no planet, there's no veteran support, guys. And at the same time, in a Fallout environment, every single person here in this chat are going to be survivors in that Fallout.
So let's use this.
Brotherhood of Steel, let's go.
Yeah, let's use this to bring this back into the veterans, right?
Add Victoria.
Essentially, if AI can do a war for us, right? It can do all these other things. Why can't it organize Veterans Affairs? And why can't it organize people having medical releases from the military? Why can't it organize how we go about qualifying and checking documents? Like the most obvious thing is you got this incredible tool that's not being used at all.
Oh, well, that's not its purpose.
But if you go back far enough, like here's a picture for you. Right? Go back to World War One.
Yeah.
Right. There was no Legion. All the guys came home from World War One. They were all battered and broken. They couldn't get jobs, and they had no pensions. So government went to town and they created the 1919 Pension Act. And when they created it, all you were supposed to do was be able to show it was, that it could be related to military service and you got a pension. And by World War II rolled around, no one could get those pensions. So all these veteran organizations flourishing, attacking the government. The government's going, oh, wait a minute, too many of you guys. We can't deal with you all, and you're too angry. So we're going to form all of you into one organization. We're going to call it the Legion, and we're going to give you a seat at the table. But in getting a seat at the table, they didn't get a vote. So when you come across ideas like, hey, using AI to solve the retention problem of the Canadian military, or to solve it for the release medicals and stuff like that, right? That would be a no-brainer, but we can't use that because, we have all these rules in place that are keeping everything separate so that you can't track it, And the bottom line is the seat at the table without the voice, without the vote, right, is not a seat worth having, right? Because you can't create any change.
I mean, yeah.
And what needs to change the most right now is the administration and the personnel and the entrenched mindsets. The easiest way to change that would be to turn some of these key operations over to AI. And that way you take the individual's personality out of it, so that, because I've been in Veterans Affairs where they've turned around and said, well, if we give this out now, then they'll never get off their pensions and go back to work. Right? It's like, well, consider that maybe a person just too damaged to do that. So there are personalities within Veterans Affairs that are as much a problem as the policies themselves. Right?
Oh, well, man, the whole MAID thing quantified that completely.
Yeah.
Last year.
And I'm sure that yeah. So I mean, at this point, I'm not sure that I would want the Legion to have a vote at the table. There's only 8 organizations. None of them have a vote. They all get a voice. It was deliberate by the government so that they can make their own decisions on their own. Just get, basically they let the angry people speak, and then they did what they want.
Yeah.
And that's been going on for 100 years. So, at this point in time, we want to change. I'm at the point where I'm thinking I'm almost willing to let AI take over for some of these idiots. And I'm not a fan of AI, but it's got to be better than what's there, or at least give us a vote so we can veto it.
The problem with AI is that because we are so flawed, AI would not regard us with enough time to solve those flaws before saying, okay, no, replaced.
Yeah, but I'm not talking on an individual basis. I'm just talking process, Like as a veteran,
AI would only ever think on process.
Yeah.
It would say
Well,
that the greater need is no go. So bye
okay. So why would I have to reprove I'm injured all the time?
to a human,
You know what I mean? To a human.
to a
Hey, I
human
won't
flawed
care. They'll just
system.
accept that you're injured because you already said you're injured. Okay, you're injured.
Well, the problem lies with support for after the fact, but also creating the need for support after the fact. Like, it's 2024. This planet is evolved technologically to the point that we don't need to fight a war anymore. The nuclear arsenal on this planet could power us indefinitely. The amount of hydro bills saved for free every single month could lead to a better economy. We could
Yep.
actually achieve utopia if we
Free
work
power.
together, but that's not what people want. People en
That's
masse
it.
are
Yeah.
narcissistic and controlling.
Yeah, you're right. Because
My friends
Tesla.
are few and far between, this room included. And I'll tell you, for the sole reason that no matter, I don't care how much money you make or how little you make, there are people who are built wrong at every single class. And all of those fucks seem to be in charge at every single level.
So it's interesting because Tesla wanted free energy for the world.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what, right? And he developed a lot of stuff that could easily provide that. But once again, the vampire volunteers, they come in and suck the life out of everything because they can see how they can make profit off of it. And
Yes.
so, Tesla would never, achieve his dream because the vampire volunteers wouldn't just won't let you. And I think the same thing goes with us today. There are so many things that can be done in the veteran community that would be to our benefit, but no one will do them because they lose power if they do.
Well,
Someone else gets to
80%
make the
of what
decision.
I see, especially on Twitch specifically, is a bunch of people with no service history raising money for veterans to keep the money for themselves. And I'm going to say
That
that
does
outright.
happen. Yeah.
It happens
That does happen, but
way
you
too
also get the
much
guys.
more.
Yep, it happens, but you also get the guys out there like something that I totally disagree with is having the pawn shops selling medals and helmets and uniforms and everything else.
Mhm.
Um, they just had another one brought up for stolen valor. He was a sergeant at arms at a legion, wearing red wings. He was wearing the wrong wings for what his medals stated, right? And they picked up on him. So they flashed them all through Facebook and everything. But if it's out there, it's accessible. You got the people with that type of mentality that no, I want to be recognized.
Yeah,
But
it's
in the
it's
process,
it's fake
yeah,
valor.
they just want the recognition, right? Look at me, look what I did. Meanwhile, they haven't done anything. They went to a pawn shop and bought everything. That's what
Exactly.
I would like to see something like that stopped.
Well, the problem is we have young people today. So, for instance, my common immediate, like, the reason why I'm not super successful on Twitch is because I keep attacking super successful streamers who like to use the veteran tag to make money for themselves. Hey guys, we're raising $1,000 for this veteran charity today. But meanwhile, everything else that's donated, I get to keep. And that's not acceptable. If you are using the veteran tag for anything you get during that moment goes to that cause. And if
We see that with the
otherwise,
homeless.
well,
You see that,
exactly.
Josh, with the homeless projects. Like we're going to raise money for veterans
We're
homelessness.
raising money to stop veteran
We're gonna,
homelessness, and
yeah,
I got $5 million in contributions, and I own the land, and I own the building, and we're gonna give all the rooms up, but I own the land and the building, and I'm not gonna surrender it to a charity because I own the land and the
yeah.
building.
And then, of course, like here in Kingston, if there's, 5 homeless veterans and there's 20 units, well, then guess who's in the other 15 units, right? They're
Tenants
not
at
veterans.
$2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Tenants at $2,000 a month, and 2 or 3 of those units are actually donated to get the tax write-off, because people are pieces of shit. The reason I
Yeah.
put the uniform on in the first place.
I guess where I see things going and the way they are is they're making a lot of money off of veterans
Yes.
to create homeless shelters when all they had to do was give the homeless veteran a room on base, right?
On base.
And start the same process. So you don't have to raise money for homeless shelter for veterans because veterans can be housed on base.
You could put them in a tent on base. They'd be fine. They'd be happy with a cot and a meal ticket.
Yeah.
They'd be happy to be back in that situation. Your base would be cleaned, spotless, voluntarily. Well, see, this is the big thing with today. 2024 is ADHD personified. And as a person with ADHD, I can see what's happening going, you guys are so distracted. Like, shit, I have ADHD. Like, I took Ritalin when I was a kid. I voluntarily stopped taking it because I was so smart. Like, people are choosing to ignore what's happening. And when you take up a flag back in the day, and you didn't represent that flag, and you were fake and found out to be, you were killed. But today, it's, I didn't understand. Oh, I identify this way with my flag. Like, fuck off. If you actually have the gall to take money or anything from people in the name of veteran support, every goddamn penny, I don't care if you have an executive, better go to that goal. Otherwise, you're a valor thief, you're guilty of a criminal offense, and I am doing everything in my power as the Bro G for 10 years on social media, as the only halfway medium I've ever met, which is disgusting, in 10 years on social media, to say, my brothers deserve that support. I don't get a cut for what I do. You don't get a cut. This is not a fucking business. This is society. We are providing for the warriors who gave part of themselves to be there for us. And, like, oh my god. And I'm gonna say it. I know I'm live right now, but the Moy Dogs of the world, the civilians out there, like, hey guys, we're on the Stack Up stream team and we're raising $5,000 Stack Up today, but they got 1,000 subscribers, 10,000 bits, 1,700 in real world donations, none of which goes towards the charity, to which they only got because they were representing the charity. That shit's fucked. If we had every single dollar from every would-be supporter that was supposed to go to veterans, we wouldn't need support today. The problem is the snake oil industry we live in. It's like way more than 50%. I've got organized crime gangsters from the fucking streets of Toronto pretending they're saints. Bro, I'll take your halo and wear it. We have a massive issue. The people in this chat are doing something positive for the cause. The people out there that we know personally are doing good shit for the cause. The problem is distracting from the cause for personal gain. You don't need to gain personally if your mission is successful. You're fine at that point. Everything you need is right there. Right? The problem is distraction. Corruption. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it, but it's distracted corruption. Yeah. It's 100% corruption. It's a level above valor theft as far as I'm concerned, because there's a valor thief who puts a uniform on that he bought from a pawn shop, a medal he didn't earn. It's definitely maximized. If somebody from Stack Up, who was a civilian supporter, put on a ranger uniform, imagine if an American citizen, just some random dude, put on a Medal of Honor. What would happen to that person when they found out it was fake?
Probably the same thing that would happen to the guy up here in Canada who's wearing that, fake set of wings, if he was ever discovered by a person like me.
Well, the difference being we don't talk about that, brother. The Americans would have it on the front page of the New York Times.
No comment.
They'd probably hang the guy in the shack someplace.
And if he was discovered in Texas, you wouldn't even hear the story. He would just disappear and turn into like oil 1,000 years later. Okay, like
they'll make a spaghetti western of it later.
My boy here, Zach, is from Oklahoma. It's pretty fucking close. He's like, yeah, we have a couple tales like that.
I'm gonna go as far as say from.
He's living in. Sorry. He's like, I'm Navy. I'm not from nowhere. Norfolk.
Yeah, because you always think of
he's
Oklahoma
like,
with submariners in the same thought process, right?
Well, and like, I'm sorry for the rant, but I feel like this is episode 44. 4 and 4 inspires positive change moving forward. And we've had a lot of hesitation, especially since COVID. The last 4 years, ironically, have been very, like, separating, you know? Like, I know we've done our thing, and, like, we sort of, with the cannabis sector, got through that together, but, like, the veteran sector is segmented so hard right now. So hard. Everybody's got their own initiative. And if we could just focus on one... Exactly. We're fighting each other instead of our enemy. If we came together, we would be far more effective. Look at me and Fabian, man. I had nothing but stars in my eyes for that guy when I met him. Nothing but stars. And because I was trying to find more money for our cause, there was a miscommunication, and now we don't talk. That's it. And we will talk one day. Sergeant, I love you. You gangster ass bombardier, you. Blow shit up. Gets home. But this is what I'm saying is, if at the friendship level we're having miscommunications, what is happening on the business level? And we, especially people with PTSD or any sort of mental infarction, which you cannot avoid by being in service for like more than a month. I'm sorry. You're different after your first instance. We being divided is not helping. Every single cause needs to be on the same page. So, for instance, ironically with the Legion, when I had a cannabis shop, the first cannabis shop in the entirety of North America supporting veterans and first responders, period. There was no way to make profit. All of our profit was supposed to go to Stefan. I only ended
Not
up
to me
giving him
personally. Not to me personally.
$1,500 after
Yeah,
11
not to,
months of operations and $115,000 in sales. Do you understand that $1,500 in profit is disgusting? I was supposed to be able to fully fund the Veteran Songwriter Camp for the next 10 years from 1 year of operation, from what we predicted. And this steps into the entirety of our scope, and that there's so much distraction in economy and bullshit of people who just want for themselves, and that if we actually gave that up for 2 seconds, you would be taken care of by the person beside you far better than you can take care of yourself because of love. You'll never be able to love yourself as much as somebody else can love you. This is why I just said at 20 years old, I said, fuck it. Fuck myself. I'm for a purpose. If I die for this, then I'll be a reason. But the only way our planet is going to step forward from thinking about countries and fucking regions and stupid small crap like that is by working together for the same goal. And I'm sorry, but the warriors who created the laws and countries you live in deserve your support. At the very least, we have 100 years of quantified history, including World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korean, Afghan, Iraq, and Iraq II war veterans who shouldn't have to worry about where their meal is coming from.
You got to get the government on board for that shit too.
Well, yes, but at the same time, we have also had more than 100 years of understanding that the government's not going to ever support us for what we do. And 4 years ago, Black Rifle Coffee went public for 26 or 2.6, not 26, I'm sorry, $2.6 billion with 26 coffee shops. And that was my inspiration behind Cannalux.
And then they're promptly blacklisted by the Canadian government for selling drugs. Guns, I should say.
Guns.
Even though they sell coffee.
Guns. Which should tell you everything you need to know. The second the people start to rally, the government's going to stop you. And I got told a comment today at work that I want to share with everybody. You're pro-American? Are you an American? No, I'm Canadian. I'm a fucking army veteran. What are you talking about? Well, you kind of like America too much. Do you want to know why I like America, the United States of America? Because last I checked, when the Persian Empire came for Greece, the only civilized country at the time, there were 300 men who stood between enslavement and what we know today as democracy. There's one apex moment in history that we can account for today, and that is Leonidas and his 300 Spartans protecting us more than 2,000 years ago. And if we emulate that whenever we can, moving forward, what do we have right now? We have, and this hurts to say, but we have more than 500 Canadian veterans dead in Afghanistan over 25 years. We have more than 1,000, which is dramatically more, I need to say, Americans dead in Iraq over the last 25 years.
they're even more dead at home after returning
Exactly.
and not getting proper care and not being able to access resources.
Exactly.
I'm just kind of curious on that note, Brent. Uh, what's the disconnect you see between government-backed veterans Legion and trying to get access to benefits?
Good question.
Who doesn't want to admit it? They don't want to recognize it. VAC won't recognize it. I had one gentleman wanted to go back for his support, and he goes, "I want to put it down as Mefloquine." I said, "You can't." Yeah, but that's what it is. And they said, "But you can't do that. You can't throw it in the garbage." So it had to be listed as PTSD. And we understand there's hundreds and thousands of people out there, veterans with PTSD, but what about the ones that have Mefloquine injury and they're not being treated properly? So they're being treated for PTSD, but it's not working. So,
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
and what they do actually when it doesn't work is instead of acknowledging that, oh, hey, this person, 18,000 Canadian military took that Mefloquine, but instead of saying, hey, could be Mefloquine instead of PTSD, what they do is they say, oh, it is PTSD treatment resistant.
Yeah.
So it's still PTSD. It's just treatment resistant PTSD.
And here's the whole thing with like neurological, especially Mefloquine and TBIs. So TBIs for the U.S. vets, Mefloquine for Canadians. Now, I'm not going to lie, and this is a dark humor joke. I'm going to just put the disclaimer out there right now. The only TBIs that Canadian vets have are from American Air Force, so thank you for that. But, like, pick your fucking targets a little better. Like, you had Canadians on the ground lasing your fucking target. You couldn't hit the bomb. I'm just saying. You couldn't hit the bomb on target. I'm just saying. Couldn't hit the bomb on target. But
Zach, you're gonna have to find a
target. Which one you want?
Zach, you're gonna have to find a
hit the forest green infantry, right? Taliban wears uniforms, right? The forest green uniform. Taliban's got forest green uniforms. That's the guys you want to hit. Fuck sakes.
Because nobody ever switched to uniform. Oh, by the way, during your rant, you said sorry, and I about lost it. I'm sorry.
Bro, sorry, but Canadians have never been squad wiped. We have never been squad wiped. I guarantee you, there is not one single tale in Afghanistan of a Canadian being squad wiped. Meanwhile, lone survivor, no offense. Operation Red Wings, I love you, but JTF2 still no casualties. What? Just saying. 25 years operation Afghanistan, Iraq, no casualties. What? And Stefan, precursor to JTF2. So understand why I picked my Obi-Wan, okay? I've got my Obi-Wan on lockdown, man. But at the same time, I love the point you just made with Mefloquine and that because we're suffering a massive misdiagnosis. We do. There's a blanket category of PTSD or TPTSD now that is temporary post-traumatic stress disorder. Like last I checked, once you're affected, you're affected for life, and there's no like 3-week furlough. And I think this is the big gap, is that it's an existing condition that has to be managed, not treated. And this is the big thing. Because I think you know my standpoint, Steph and Zach, Brent, you're learning it. A veteran especially is built like a machine. They were designed that way. They were deconstructed and rebuilt. So if we can inspire that engine to restart and become self-reliant, that is the best value for that veteran. The problem is when you encounter things like methloquine, a TBI, anything involving neurological dampening or disruption, that engine doesn't have a starter anymore. So you have to get outside the box.
I think this comes back to the corruption again, even because even
Totally.
with mefloquine, it was licensed unlawfully. They were supposed to do the safety study. They didn't order the drug, distributed it, then approved it for use without the safety study. And they're so busy hiding their corruption that they're allowing probably close to 7,000 veterans which were damaged by mefloquine to continue to be damaged and to live in misery and squalor. And then on top of that, all the civilians that have been damaged by Larium as well. And they're all getting diagnosis of schizophrenia and bipolar disorders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they're kind of even worse. I mean, we're being treated for PTSD, but they're being treated for bipolar and schizophrenia. Can you imagine the drugs they're putting them people on?
Well, and this is where my rabbit hole goes, is the more prescriptions issued, who is profiting from that? The person who makes the drug. The person who makes the drug. Like, and Zach's just nodding his head. He's like, I know where you're going with this. We're going on Howard Stern tomorrow, right? Like, because like honestly, the reason, well, I was yelling at Zach. I was like, for like 2 years. For 2 years, like, when are you gonna get your medical retirement so you can get off whatever they're prescribing you and get what is actually gonna heal you? Like, dude, like, for real. I know you're on cannabis now. How is your life now compared to 2 years ago?
I can like walk and stuff, so that's like pretty good.
Dude, I rest my case.
So I did get a
I can walk and stuff. I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. Oh, I can like walk and stuff. So
yeah, I can like walk and stuff. So, I mean, it's pretty cool.
I couldn't walk before, so like big fucking deal.
I could. It just like it hurt like a lot, so it hurts a whole lot less.
Well, and like, what were you on before? As a temporary? Opioids?
No. I never got to opioids because they're really hard to get on for the job that I was doing as a nuclear operator.
Yeah, true.
So like all of our meds are like closely.
But they gave you basically everything right under the wire. Yeah, just to keep you operational. And this is the thing. So that's going to create kidney issues, liver issues, blood circulation issues, fat storage issues, which is going to lead to cholesterol buildup and heart issues. Like, if we just had a more open communication platform, shit would just be a lot better. And
well, we got to get rid of the doctors because the doctors don't have any knowledge on anything other than pharmaceuticals.
Doctors are not smart enough anymore in this age. Doctors are too slow in this age.
100% agree. So that creates a problem though, because even the people who know the drugs aren't doing well for them, they don't have the knowledge they need either. So they can't abandon the system that's hurting them because they don't know anything about creating their own system. Whereas we've been able to create our own systems, right? And we know about how to go about doing that. We can teach them, but there's some restrictions. And the bottom line is, I think conversations like this have to be had because it's the conversations where people will begin to realize that they can actually leave the medical system and go into like cannabis and mushrooms. And if you learn how to use them correctly, it's not about just getting high and getting a blast. If you want to do that, that's fine, but do it responsibly. But if you really truly want to feel well, 30 years ago, I was non-functioning as a human being. I was locked up in a psych ward for 6 weeks, 6 months.
Exactly.
And then I was put on an anticonvulsant for 12 years. And then as a result of the anticonvulsant, everything that touched my body, it just breaks it down, destroys it. So I couldn't even take the anticonvulsant any longer. And then when I stopped taking that, because I really didn't have PTSD, all my symptoms came back. And I had to learn to manage them without a doctor, without pharmaceuticals. And that's how I ended up starting to heal.
Yeah.
So if I hadn't had to go through all that self-discovery, and if I hadn't met Fabian and sped that up, especially on the cannabis front, because I was really struggling with that, like I don't know what I would have done. And I think these are the kind of things that we really need to get out more.
I like that you reference Fabian, because Fabian's chill lives in me today. Like the meeting when we met each other the first time, I was like, I'm gonna take this personality trait and make it one of my own.
Mhm.
As the very least that I got from that amazing guy. And
my only complaint about Fabian is he burns himself out.
he works
too
hard. Yeah.
too hard, too long, and doesn't know when to stop and recharge before charging forward again.
He's the
And
kind of
he
guy
just
who's used
needs
to having a squad the same way, though. So, like, when
Yeah, I
he
know,
burnt
I know,
out,
but
they would be like, come here.
yeah,
But now that he doesn't have that, like, he's a fucking class of his own, that guy.
well, he's replaced his squad. I mean, he's got some close family and friends and stuff like that, but he still doesn't know enough to rest when he needs to rest.
Yes.
Like for example, today people started calling me about stuff that I couldn't afford to take on today, so I just sent them a text message. Talk to you about it tomorrow morning.
Huh?
Because I'm spending the day. I went out for breakfast with my wife, and my granddaughter came over this afternoon, and we had to play with the cat. That was my day. It was my day off. I needed it.
Well, and so, like, this is where I'm talking about the like, butterfly effect, I guess, of action. So, like, if anybody doesn't know Sergeant Henry, Fabian Henry, he's a combat engineer from Afghanistan, multiple tours, had a seriously traumatic event that I don't want to divulge too much about, that because it's not my story. I'm not going to talk about it. But it involved a multiple fatality situation. Multiple fatality situation.
I put a paragraph in the book on Fabian.
Perfect.
Fabian is like me. He's a mental combat. He did 6 tours, and he took methylquin, and he was just combat was the only thing he had. So he would come back and he would go to the bars, and it would be ready for combat. That's all he would do is combat. Get into a fight.
Yep. Well, and like, especially coming to the civilian world, that's a really hard mentality to turn off, because you're scared to turn it off in case you need it. Once you turn it off, it's off. You can't turn it back on. Turning it on took, like, this is okay. So I'm going to talk about this because I did this. Turning on your ability to kill a human being takes effort if you weren't born that way. And I'll tell you, if the army finds out you were born that way, you're not going to be in the army anymore because you're fucked up.
Yeah, they want you to still have a conscience. That
Yeah.
You don't kill indiscriminately.
You have to be able to be some sort of fucked up hybrid of psychopath and sociopath, which doesn't exist.
You have to be able to turn. You have to turn off the psychopath, or be able to turn it off.
Correct. You have to choose
and
sociopath.
Then turn it back on again when you need
you have
it.
to choose.
You gotta work the turntables.
Yeah. Wooka wooka, and mix, dead. And
yeah,
this extends. This is why I relate so well to you. Is that that's not a unique characteristic. There's a certain type of person that can fulfill a combat role. To be able to come back from that is also a certain type of person. It's far less than 50%, guys. It is. And when you can save a warrior from that mentality, you create something that can save us again. And I want to quantify that properly. We
Yeah.
have taken this person, we have told them that everything they've learned for 18 years, that life is precious, isn't. Take life for the greater good. Now, we need to stick that soul back in a very small slot. A slot that is much, much, much smaller than the space that was taken. And we're talking about trauma, what they've seen,
Yeah,
their friends, their
it's
suffering.
I don't. Yeah, it's not. I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with it. There's a few more elements I think that really can complicate that
Hmm.
as well. For example, back in around 98, 99, thereabouts, um, some guy decided he didn't like me. Don't know, couldn't care less about what his issues were, but I do remember he came up from behind and he knocked me really hard, and I went down, and I had been out of the military. I had not been in a brawl or fight or engaged in anything in a number of years.
Mm.
I went down into a shoulder roll, came up. I basically faked him with my left, so he moved over to his left and he moved right into my right hand.
Right into your strike.
And I said, yeah, and he went flying back about 25 feet, landed on his ass. And he kind of looked up, shook his head, and he was like, "What the fuck just happened?" And it was like, "This isn't over." And I looked at him and said, "Yes, it is," and I walked away. Now, the point I'm getting at here is it's two things. One, I went into that shoulder roll and came up and faked him with my left, hit him with my right instinctively. I had no thoughts on that whatsoever.
Yep.
The minute he hit me from behind, that sequence went into play, and there was zero thought.
Yep.
Once I hit him, it was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna kill him if I hit him again.
Yes, you started
I
panicking
have
in
to
your own
stop.
head. Yes.
That's right. I have to stop.
Yeah.
I cannot stay here. I have to walk away. I am a danger, not just to myself, but to others. And this is where it got interesting in dealing with psilocybin, is because I was so paranoid because of the hallucinations I had suffered. And even, like with cannabis, I would hallucinate with cannabis on the wrong strains. It took me a good year just to try the mushrooms and get the effects of them. And now I'm doing them every 2 weeks, no problems. But there's that hesitancy, which is based on a fear because you know what you're capable of, and you
Correct.
also know that if you can't keep control on it, it's not just that you're going to hurt somebody; it's that your family's going to lose you.
Well, yes, exactly. And we see this especially in the United States with a much larger special forces community, in that they encounter a situation in the civilian world, their combat training kicks in, and they're doing muscle memory. Most of the time, they're not even conscious, especially if they're intoxicated. It's their body responding, it's not their brain. Their brain's going to wake up the next morning once they realize they killed somebody. Like that fictitious movie Con Air kind of nailed it, to be honest. Delta Forces Ranger gets attacked outside the bar by 4 guys, and then he fucking smokes them. Boom.
Yep.
Instinct. And ironically, I've also encountered that situation too, and that I got to successfully dress down a constable in the emergency room once, but that's a different story for a different time. And as we all can, run circles around the people coming for us. But in the time, especially if a neurological issue is in place, you're fighting yourself, you're fighting the instance, and you're fighting a threat. And the threat is not necessarily the person you're fighting. And
nor is it necessarily real.
Exactly.
I think it's more.
Exactly.
We have more of a knowledge of what
Yes.
is possible by somebody with certain thoughts.
Yes.
That if we lose control of our brain, and that somehow got in our brain that thought would take over.
And we are afraid
Yes.
of that as heroes. Because there's a whole lot of words in veteran, combat veteran, and different levels. Sergeant, master sergeant, sir, fuck, hero. If you choose to live a life for others instead of yourself, you're a hero. If you choose selfishness, you're a civilian. If you choose service, you're a citizen. You believe in society. You believe in Rome.
Except for
For
that one
lack
guy
of a
who's a
better
brown
term.
noser. Remember that one guy? You probably had one on your ship, the brown noser.
That guy's a civilian.
He's a civilian too, whether he's got a uniform on or not.
Fuck, I swear to God. That kid never got Firewatch. Ever. But like, for real. The Division.
Obviously, the government should be liable for some of this. They transitioned you to be the machine that you are. But when you're done your service, they don't help to transition you out of that.
Well,
They're doing better now at deprogramming. And I say better, but they're not doing well. So when I was getting out, they started running courses on, retraining or, like just things that, finances and helping you to adjust to the transition. Now they do a more extensive program with a lot more follow up. But I think the main problem is there's not sufficient time to decode a brain that's been programmed for 30 years in service, or even 17 years of service, or even 5.
dude, I was
Like
gonna
the
say, look at me.
deprogramming takes a lifetime. And we're expecting guys to release. And I think one of the solutions, and this is, I think, comes back to how the Legion could be effective, is that we need to be leaving the military and joining a unit association. And those unit associations need to be tied with resources that be filled from legions, for example. And so the legions should be working with unit associations in order to help transition people out of the military. And it's just not being coordinated. It's not being done. There aren't very few unit associations. It should be a mandatory across the board. Every unit must have an association.
Mm. Well, they like the Highlanders do. I'm sure if a reserve infantry unit has one, everybody does. The problem is what you touched on before was the corruption. So we're so hesitant to do that because for me, I like Zach Ascension. Ascension, love you.
Yeah, where is Ascension
like
anyways? Why isn't he on?
he's in chat. He's in chat moderating for us. He's attacking apparently a troll who says, "Can black people be racist?" And I said, "Yes, of course. Everybody can be racist. It's not limited to a color, hence the term racist."
Great.
It's like, layman's and all that stuff. Ascension's gonna connect with him on a lower level and either smack him back in check or not. But and Ascension, you are 100% welcome in this conversation. We would love for you to be in this chat right now, my friend. If you're not studying, I think it's April, right? Yeah, we're still in April. No, he's in exams. Poor guy. I love you.
That's
But
okay.
like,
Brent's doing courses too,
there's
and he loves them, don't you, Brent?
Oh yeah,
the dissension
beautiful.
breeds, and like division apparently is the main theme these days. Our government, if we're looking to our government for support, we will only find division. Our government
That's right.
doesn't want us to be supported. They want us to be complacent. They want us to be okay. They do not want us to be good or even great. They want us to be okay so that
They just
they
don't
can
want us to
have
be
the great
solving.
and they can have
They
the
don't
good.
want us to be causing problems.
Correct. Which
Right?
is
That's all.
why
Just
I'm
don't
going to go
cause a
back to
problem.
Black Rifle. I'm going to say Black Rifle again. I'm wearing their hat for a reason. I have never stopped. Because, and I understand politics and all the bullshit aside, they consistently give $500,000 to veteran-owned and run charities. They're in NASCAR for one reason: to bring awareness to veteran-owned and operated businesses. I am not a combat veteran, but I have 100% dedicated my life to support my combat veteran brothers because I believe that my job as a douchebag private is to hold that gangster totem pole up. And I am so proud to be on that pole. That I get friends like Stefan, I get friends like Zach, because like Thorin, remember Dave? Zach? Dave and fucking Word. Like, I'm friends with Army Ranger. I'm friends with Delta Force guys. Like, I'm friends with Stefan, for shit's sakes, guys. Like, I'm talking original Commando, post Black Watch, gangster, pre JTF 2, pre JTF 1. Any veteran fanboy in the world has to understand that these men are the reason that we're even on Twitch right now. The reason that the Germans didn't win World War II, the reasons that the Russians didn't fucking crush us in the Cold War, like, the shit they can't talk about has allowed them the ability to not have to worry about this while they are living the rest of their life and waiting to move on to the next one. And this is the main point, is that like, regardless of injury and regardless of service, if you gave service, you need to be able to rely on who you served to protect you. That's the exchange. That was the exchange up until about 80 years ago. And the First World War was the first time we saw veterans from a conflict. Like, the British Empire in the War of 1812 was amazing to their veterans. Are you serious? Could you imagine if every veteran from Afghanistan got 1,000 acres and like servants and like a house and like are you serious right now? Like, congratulations for serving in the War of 1812. Here's
Also,
Saskatchewan.
War.
You fucking serious?
There'd probably be less war.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it would be more expensive to actually run a war.
Yeah.
Zach just got
Be more
bunnied
expensive.
hard.
Tossing out like,
That's it.
hey,
Yeah, that's a really good. That's a really good point to end on
Yeah.
there, Josh, too, as well, because the time is getting on. And my wife is
We
gonna
are
start complaining
past. We
too,
are past. Quite
you
a bit.
know. But you get talking, I know. That's the good part.
It's been a great show. I can't wait to transcribe this for YouTube. Like, we have such good clips from this show. And like, Brent, I can't thank you enough. Like, the Legion is such a phenomenal organization for veterans. Like, the only organization of its kind to actually, I think, like, do what I do as a personal in a business sense, in that, like, the Legion, I have met so many Legionnaires with no service history whatsoever who are just so much in love with the cause. Like, the entire purpose of the organization is to provide support. And if we could just have like an umpteenth of that from any company that's like $1 billion publicly traded company, Black Rifle, blah blah, Black Rifle. I'm just nudging you. please, like, please take a
Puppy.
page out of Legion's book. They have a hall in every single town that there's a reserve unit, even some that there aren't. You can go there on Sundays for a pancake dinner. Whether you can afford it or not, trust me, they'll get you your pancakes, all right? Like, if you're a homeless veteran, they will set you up. They'll put you in touch with a job. They will sit there and talk with you for hours, which is what we need sometimes. Loneliness
The other
is the killer.
the other good thing with the Legion, just wanted to mention that a veteran doesn't have to be a member of the Legion
Exactly.
to receive emergency funding, such as help paying with their bills or whatever else might be needed. They do not have to be a member. As long as they live within the community where the Legion is, that always works as well.
Well, and that's the first step. Like this is why I love the Legion. I have supported the Legion since I was 20 years old, like since I joined the army, because I found out how much they were doing for veterans, and that the money actually is tracked, it goes to the proper purpose, and it gets results. This is why I, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, when I was starting my cannabis company, I was like, I want to support Wounded Warrior Project. And then I met Stefan, somebody who actually does something for his brothers and sisters, puts the money where the mouth is. Okay? And I'm inviting everybody who is watching this right now live and in replay land to pay attention to the chat. If you can't donate to the GoFundMe, don't worry about it. But please share the Facebook link to Instinctive Measures. Because, okay, first of all, this is one of the best books I've ever read. I'm about 50% the way through. And it's going to change your life. It's going to give you a massive perspective on your culture and the real world, which you cannot get from TV anymore. You can get a perspective on the real world from somebody who has experienced it. And Stefan is honestly one of the most learned people I have ever met. I'm proud to call him one of my mentors. And the the more I read from this book, the more I cry, first of all. I keep fucking weeping when I read your book. And the more I'm just awestruck that, like, you have to understand what this man has been through to be sitting here right now, having a coherent conversation with us, pitching his fucking book, guys. Read the book, get the book, subscribe, and donate to the GoFundMe. Like, we need more men like Stefan leading us. We do. Brother, I'm sorry to get so real, but man, I love you.
Fuck you. I love you too, man. Fuck you, but I love you.
I know. I fucking love you, man. Like, you have no idea how many people I tell that I met this guy Stefan and he changed my fucking life. And he embraced me as a brother. And I will never stop until I find salvation for the cause. Like, you are the embodiment of Brotherhood of Steel.
I know I've said this before on your show, but I'm going to say it again. When I joined the military, they asked if I would kill on command. I said yes. If you were to ask me if I would kill on someone's command again, I would say fuck you.
Yep.
If you ask if I would kill at all, I would say fuck with my family and find out.
Damn right. If anybody fucked with my brother,
Yeah.
I would. You would see me go back to combat condition real fucking quick, sir. Yeah.
And you picked up on it. Okay, obviously you did. And just for everyone else that might be listening, if you're messing with a veteran, then you're messing with family. So that's what you need to know. And that's what you need to, and the government really truly needs to understand this, because they don't understand that we are at war with them, and that we're using, or we're actually gaining proficiency on a whole new battlefield called webinars. It's called media. It's called boardrooms, and we're getting ready to kick ass. And when we come out in full force, we will be kicking ass.
Damn
So,
right.
thank you so much, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Brother, like, the fact that you even agreed to be on this show the first time was an honor. And anything we can do as a community, we will do. You know that.
I do.
And Brent, thank you so much for being on the show tonight, man. Like, honestly, everything the Legion does in Canada is just so fucking phenomenal. Like, I was honored. Like, I was so excited when Steph said that you'd be on the show. I was like, seriously? Like, seriously, we can finally get a Legion guy on the show? That's so awesome. We have the ability right now to change the world by keeping it focused on the light, right? Let's do it.
And thank you. One other thing, Steph, we're doing another bike run this year for Steph, for Veterans House. That'll be August 17th.
August 17th.
I will be there. And that's in Dunnville. What's the branch,
Yep.
Legion?
Yeah,
No,
branch
it's the- what's the
142.
branch?
142 Dunnville. So
Anyone
have
in Southern
early
Ontario?
Pardon me?
Is there anyone in Southern Ontario that's the place to be on that date?
Dunnville,
Yes.
August 17th. We'll put up a few more flies in the Discord for sure. !Discord if you're not a member. I apparently
We'll have
can't
flyers coming
type.
out as
There we
well.
go.
And this is not a charge per bike or per rider. This is all going to be done by donation.
All right.
So there will be food in the morning, and then when you come back at the end of the day, there will be a barbecue at the end of the day as well.
August 17th. What day of the week is that?
Saturday.
Saturday. Ah, shit. That's gonna be right.
Yeah, you
Like,
can.
that's gonna be our last weekend at the Lake Joe Club, or I would totally be there. Darn. That's too bad. September, count me in for events. September, October, November, yep. But Muskoka, July, August. Guys,
That's it.
what a fantastic episode tonight. Holy cow. I'm sorry for taking you, 33 minutes past our timing? Holy cow. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Vet Chat. And hell yeah. Alright. Rock it out. Satchel and shotgun to the guy who was repairing. He looked at me while I was satcheling him. Hope you like pineapples, motherfucker.